Tony, one of the things that I know that, I don't mean to interrupt you here, but I know that this particular topic about the changes that's going on inside Iraq in regards to the corruption and the military and all that kind of stuff, this is something that has been prevailing itself a lot on the news in the last little while. And I think that, he went to meet with the president. They came out of there, both of them, really feeling good. And then we see this massive push that's going on inside Iraq now to clean up the corruption that's been going on since 2003. And then they're digging, they're discovering how deep the roots really are and how much of that corruption was actually being relayed and commandeered, I would say, by Iran. Because there were events where there were contracts being issued to Hezbollah for doing particular projects which were never initiated, but the funds were given to them. And it's the same thing with the corruption that went on inside the agriculture. There was a recent article talking about how Iraq, which has a lot of water, by the way, and is also a large agricultural producer in that region, was having difficulties because of the corruption at the ports, that these farmers were losing their money from these sources, these leeches that were in place that was usurping all of their gains, thus hurting the free market. So, yeah, there's been a lot done in the last little while. This is how come I'm really quite excited to see these forward movements that's happening at the moment. It seems like the more and more they're cleaning things up, the closer we're going to have to where they can actually bring themselves into alignment and into compliance with the SWIFT account system and with the other accounts in order for them to participate in the world markets. So I'm really enthused about the things I see happening that are over there right at the moment.
No, absolutely, Bob. You're 100% correct. And remember this, the deals that are on the table that we get to see is all these companies that can produce power, generators and stuff like that, all right? So remember, that was still lacking in Iraq. And there was one or two plans that were involved with that. Add value to their currency and take care of that, or do deals with companies that can take care of that, and then either way. But the key was you guys got to understand, all right? So this correlates with the question that is in the middle of my pile here, and it talks about the HCL, the hydrocarbon law. Because people always ask, every once in a while people throw that up there. And so here's the situation, you guys. Remember when we created a coalition government in Iraq? We had the Gulf War. We created a coalition government, and they were going to break the country up into 3 different states. One had influence from Shia, one had influence from Sunni, and one had influence from the Kurds. The reason we did, and believe it or not, if they would have done that, there would have been peace like you'd never seen in Iraq. And the reason they didn't do that is because of Russia. You guys got to understand, why are we in the Middle East? What is it that we're doing? It's since 1850, there's been a war on Russia expanding their empire, and back in the day, the British expanding their empire. The center of that was Afghanistan. It's still the same thing today. Afghanistan is in the center of that chessboard. It's in the center of that battleground. People don't realize there's the real battle. We look at all the stuff that's going on in the United States, all the politics. The real battle on the planet, the reality is the battle for the rimland. And for people who've taken my geopolitical course, they know exactly what that means. That's the battle, all right? So Russia's trying to break out, and they get allies. And one of their allies ended up being Iran. And so we had to stop that, and we did. We stopped that. Again, we're not in Afghanistan because, there's all these weird BS conspiracy theories. We're in Afghanistan to stop Russia from coming down, and that's it. We're not there for the terrorists. We're not there for these asinine conspiracy theories about the opium and all. Yeah, it's just asinine. We're there to stop a military from coming down because the one thing that the reason that region is the pivotal point of history, it's because you had infantry coming down. Remember the Mongols and all that stuff, they can invade because they had horses and all that stuff. Well, you guys, there was no competition for it until they started creating ships that can compensate for that. So the Vikings, they started going from the ocean up rivers, all right? The next thing you know, they had deep sea water technology where the Portuguese can go all the way around Africa. So it changed the dynamics of how the world history plays out. And what happened during that time is Russia got pinned back up into where they're at. They haven't had access to the open ocean. All right, they have a base in Syria, but that's, you guys, Gibraltar and the Suez Canal, that can all be blocked. They're blocked in, so they want out. And if the reason the United States, reason Great Britain was the power of the world because they ruled the seas, and now we're the power because we rule the seas. What's Russia want to do? They want to break out of that containment. And remember this: 2/3 of all the wealth and all the people on this planet, the materials, is in that rimland area. So you control all the people. You control the material that goes to those markets. And to be able to do that efficiently, you need to have a sea power. That's what it's all about. That's what the game is all about. If you didn't know that, now you know, because it's that easy. There's no, guys, it's not some guy behind the curtain, some secret group. It's not the banks. That's all garbage. It's a war over the rimland. That's what it's all about. And so we are actually winning that because we own that. We've kept our enemies in containment. They want out. And so that's why every move you're seeing is for them to get out. Every move on our side is to keep them in containment. So the model that you're looking at right now is that, we have military bases. We have military bases surrounding our enemies. Anaconda. The exact same strategy that we used in the Civil War to defeat the South. And so what people don't realize is that so let me throw this out there. Think about this. Think about some of these generals that work for Trump and they don't work for Trump anymore. Think about some of the Republicans that don't like Trump. Now, you can go out there and you can say, well, I don't like his demeanor, his politics. That's not what's going on, you guys. What's going on is there's two options on the table. Everybody agrees that we need to hold these countries in containment. But the difference is that Trump is saying, it's like, look what we did with Afghanistan, and we supported the Afghan resistance. They kicked out Russia. They kicked out the second largest power. I mean, they had the biggest land army on the planet. They got kicked out of Afghanistan. And all we did was support them. Why should we send our kids up there to support them if they don't even like us? We know that Afghanistan doesn't want Russia taking over their country. So there's two options on the table for them. Give arms and weapons and not sacrifice our children. And it's also cheaper that way, and we can do that, or actually bring them into our markets and, let them expand their wealth and help them militarily, but our kids aren't being sacrificed. And, one thing I don't like about Trump, I'll be honest with you, is talking about these endless wars, these useless, endless wars. You guys, with all my heart and soul, they are not useless, endless wars. We're keeping our enemy in containment. If they get out, our markets shrink. There's no in the middle, all right? We live in a world of entropy. We live in a universe of entropy. Either you're growing or you're dying. There is no in the middle. So we're in Afghanistan for a very good reason. We were in Iraq for a very good reason. We were in Vietnam for a very good reason. We were in North Korea for a very good reason. We've got military bases in Japan and all these countries that surround and keep our enemies contained, keep them out of the Pacific, keep them out of the Atlantic for a very good reason. But all of this is part of that strategy, and the way we think is a part of why there's opportunity for you and I in Iraq. So that's what's going on. That's the game that's being played. And all Trump's trying to do, it's like, look, if all these countries are going to, they want to be part of the consuming market of the world, the engine of the world, the United States, they need to start putting their children at risk. We can't be the only country doing it. That's one. And number two, why aren't the countries that we're occupying, do they want to be Russian? Do they want to partake in that type of economy? And the answer is no.